Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and welcome back to Lone Star version 2. This is episode number 8, and thank you so much for coming back for another episode. So I just wanted to point out that we did go ahead and get the rest of this rock work done here. And so again, the good old Texas weeds will come through your rock work here. As I had indicated to you all, I have fond memories of working various jobs where if you didn't stay on top of these kind of things with weed prevention and such, they would grow through. And I'm not really that bothered by it because, we are so busy here on our farm that, we'll worry about the weeds whenever we have a little bit of time to worry about the weeds. But right now, we do not. So we're going to be out and at it this morning. All of our crew is out working, doing various things on the farm. And what we're going to do is we are going to grab a hold of our pallet forks and go over and give the pigs some food. We have um, we have some store-bought food in pallet form over near the pig shed that we're going to go over and take a look at. And let's just really quick here before I get going over that direction, let me just show you, that in the previous episode we did go ahead and cut some grass down in that field just ahead of us there and brought in over 100,000 liters into our main fermenting tank here, our number one fermenting tank here. And so we've got 117,000 liters left. I think it was around 120,000 liters or so. We did make up some mixed rations yesterday, and we'll probably mix up a little bit more in this episode. This episode is just kind of going to be a little bit of farm work here with the animals and maybe some spraying as well if we have time. You will take note to our soil temperature. It's at 48 degrees. And if I bring up the seasons menu here just to show you, because I want to keep you guys in the loop here, at 48 degrees, we are still too cool for soybeans and corn. And those are the two remaining crops that we have yet to be able to get planted in the ground. So I'm sort of hopeful that maybe later this game day, if the temperature heats up, and let's just take a look at our forecast right quick. So today is going to be a high of let's see. 41 is the current temperature. Not sure what the high is going to be. I can't remember. But tomorrow we are looking at 56 degrees. So hopefully that soil temperature will go ahead and come on up. And of course that will be, we are playing 6 game days per episode. So late spring, this is the first game day of late spring. So we will come back together for another episode for late spring. And then hopefully maybe by then, maybe we'll have 50 degrees be that magic number for our soil temperature, and we can start planting corn and soybeans. We do have one of our workers, Billy Bob, is up here in our second grass field. He is mowing that grass. You will take note of the wet crop icon there next to the soil temperature and the ambient air temperature. We did have rain last night, had quite a bit of it, but it's not too wet to mow, so the grass has dried out. So our plans for our grass is to definitely obviously mow it, and we will be tethering that grass and then raking that grass for hay bales. So I'm hopeful that we managed to get enough grass yesterday collected and get it into the fermentation silo for that to be sufficient as far as what our needs are for, let's give them one more, as far as what our needs are right now for silage until we can get the corn in. But if we need to, there's still other areas on this map that we can cut grass on. So we are not necessarily grass poor, as you might say. We actually do have quite a bit of grass, and we can mow that grass pretty much anywhere. And maybe there's some other folks around here in Lone Star that could use the help and staying on top of that. So sometimes, down on the farm, just like even our homes, sometimes the sometimes the grass work, even in our yards and such, will just kind of have to wait until time permits. And sometimes, farmers are out busy and they're doing all the things that they've got going on, and doing things like mowing their yards, or mowing some of the areas around their property, and everything does kind of sometimes fall by the wayside. But we will just cross that bridge when we get to it, if we need to. 100,000 liters of silage will go a long ways towards. I'm not sure why we don't have any animation of the pig food pouring out. These are the big bags, so maybe that animation doesn't work. I can't remember. But our pigs are doing quite healthy, as my track IR kind of jerks around there, so my apologies for that. And good healthy pig population. And while we're over here with the telehandler and everything, let's just go ahead and give them one more bag. One more bag of pig food for the little oinkers. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day, a wonderful afternoon, morning, evening, night, depending on when you're watching this video. I just hope you're doing fine. Hope everything is going well for you. Hope your week is going well. Let's see, this episode is coming out on Thursday, so by now we are 2 days into the big bud hype, if you will. And of course, I'm filming this or recording this episode on Sunday the 7th, so I don't have my hands yet on the big bud. Hoping that maybe it'll be available on maybe Monday evening when I get home in the evening. That is officially Tuesday, the 9th of May in Europe, where Giants is based. So as you know, Farm Sim 17 did come out on Monday. When it was the scheduled date for that was on Tuesday, on a Tuesday in October. So I can't remember if the Coon DLC came out in the evening USA time ahead of the scheduled release for the DLC. I can't remember, to be honest, but we'll see. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, well, we'll just continue doing what we're doing, right? All right, so I've kind of got a cool setup here with regards to our sort of our hay and our straw and all that kind of situation. So let's mix up some mixed rations, and we'll just drop our pallet forks right over here, and we'll try not to forget where those guys are. Hopefully the weeds won't grow up around that too bad. Now, of course, as a kid, we will just hook these up, and then we will be right back. We're going to go over here and get a tractor, on our onto our mixing wagon, the big mixing wagon. I suppose, I could go with a mixing station. Now, where did I leave that tractor? Oh, I know where it is. It's under here where Red parked it after he was picking up some more wool. The boys have been shaving sheep like crazy, and so we have decided that we're going to try to get as much wool as we possibly can. We'll just drop that trailer right there, and we're going to head over here. And nope, we're going to actually head over here because our mixing wagon is over here. And so yeah, the boys have been shearing sheep and staying on top of that as best as they can. That was sort of, what I told them with when we moved here to this and got set up here on this map was, I said, I basically want you guys to make sure that we stay on top of our animal production. Keep that 100% going as best as we can all the time, because basically if they're not making money, then, or if they're not productive is what I'm trying to say. If the animals are not productive, we're not making money, and if we're not making money, I can't pay you. So that was language that the boys can understand quite well, because they certainly look forward to their paychecks, and we pay some of the best rates that you will find around these parts. And so we will go ahead and turn our mixing wagon on, and of course leave our tractor running for to drive the PTO. And then we're going to mix up some mixed rations. So I'll tell you how I do it here. Now this is a 64,000 liter capacity mixing station. And so what that basically means is, if you're working in, got to take your parking brake off first, Jerry. So if we're working on quantities of 4, so four bells, and that's why I like these bells stacked up in this fashion. A little X key there to get them locked in place on the bell forks, and hopefully that other stack doesn't fall down. But so the ratio here is four bells of straw, and then either 4 bells of hay and the equivalent of 8 bells of silage, or 4 bells of straw, 8 bells of hay, and then the equivalent of 4 bells of silage. So hopefully I said that correctly. It may be one of those things that you will just have to understand what I meant to say instead of understanding what I actually say, in case I got that a bit backwards. But anyway, we are putting in 8 bells of hay into our mixing wagon as we ram into the side of it. I'll leave that in there because I just didn't have it raised up high enough. I think it's okay. I think our pecan will be able to weather the storm there. We'll drop those guys in there. And that's our 8 bells of hay. I suppose if you had bells of grass, you could also use grass. Now we're going to go for 4 bells of straw. And we need some straw as well. We're probably going to have to call up some of our friends. Maybe Percy J. Wyatt, which I told you about a few episodes ago. And if I forgot for whatever reason, or if it was maybe in the episode 7 that I deleted, which was recorded on the old version of Lone Star, and then of course I re-recorded episode 7. If I forgot to tell you about Percy J. Wyatt, Percy J. Wyatt is a new character that lives around these parts. And basically, Eustace Farmer introduced us to Percy J. Wyatt just a few days ago on his YouTube channel. And so I would encourage you, if you are interested in understanding what the heck I'm talking about, to go over to Eustace Farmer's channel and check out that video, The Life and Times of Percy J. Wyatt. And I think you'll quite enjoy it. All right, so we have the equivalent of 4 bells, or not the equivalent, we actually do have 4 bells of straw and 4 bells of hay. I'm sorry, 8 bells of hay. And I will turn the mixing wagon off just a little bit because this tractor is perhaps just a tad bit underpowered to move this mighty beast once it's all filled up. So turning the PTO off does save a little bit of energy or engine power, and allows that to do its thing to drive the tractor. So we're just going to pull under here, and we're going to go ahead and turn our mixing wagon back on, so it's mixing this silage in with everything else that we have in here. And we'll just ease forward just a little bit for the animation. And of course it'll shut off whenever it gets full, and it's coming up on 64,000 liters right there. And we'll let that mix just a little bit, and then we will go ahead and shut that off again, just so that we've got a little bit more power to drive the tractor. Again, I should probably be using our yellow Challenger for this job, but Billy Bob wanted to drive it when he mowed. And so with the wet grass and everything, that extra horsepower that the Challenger has will just will just help him out there. So I said, okay, no problem. I will just leave me the big case and we'll make do. So that's what we're doing. So I'll pull into the dairy milking parlor here, and we'll go ahead and let you see some of this animation here. We'll turn the mixing wagon back on just for the sake of things, and then go ahead and open up the doors and let the total mix rations, or power food as it's now called in Farm 17 pour out of our pecan mixing wagon. So we'll pull up our animal specs there, and that's all looking good. I wish that again, and I know in episode 55 of Lawfolds, which you guys will see tomorrow on Friday, I talk a little bit about what I hope my vision of the whole farm sim genre will eventually come to, and and I hope that, one of these days we have some of the things that I talked about in that episode. But then one thing that I didn't talk about that I'll save. Come on, girls, move out of the way, move out of the way. As we drive over our dairy cows there, but they're okay. They're resilient. They bounce right back. But one of the things that I hope that one of these days we will be able to see in our lovely games here, whether it be Giants Farm Sim or some other game, is I hope that we will actually be able to see a little bit better animation in the milking parlors, and maybe even more things that you got to do, that you got to actually stop and take time. Right now, the whole milking concept is pretty much animate or automated, I should say. It's not animated. That's what I'm actually talking about here, but it is automated in the sense that we don't have to go and physically um, uh, milk the cows. And I'm not actually saying that, well, we should be able to milk them, but I would like to see a little bit, maybe a little bit better animation, something like that in with that, and hopefully we'll have that one of these days. I would certainly hope so. Can I squeeze through there? Yeah, I think I can. So we'll just go ahead and park this tractor up right here, and let that be that, as I drive just a smidge too far. And we'll set our parking brake and get out. But we just would take things as we have it, and just go from there. But it would be nice, and I've said this before as well. I wish that there were, and here this a lovely example of something that hopefully one of these days will be able to do, and that is maybe move cattle or even sheep, as far as that goes, from one field, one grass area to another. So kind of the way that R. McKinney set up this map is that if you see, maybe you can see if I come over here, that gate that I just drove through a few minutes ago, which is just in front of the windmill there in the pond. It would be nice if we could, have some way, maybe it's just an option key or something like that, where we could actually move our cows from one pasture to another, sheep from one pasture to another, and and or and or move them out of, say, the dairy parlor, the milking parlor. Um, would also be kind of cool, because again, you're not necessarily gonna be in there with a bunch of heavy equipment. I think I talked about that when I was playing Coldwell Park Farm before the update to Farm Sim managed to break that map for me. But anyway, just things that I sometimes think about with relation to this wonderful game. So let me think here where we're going to go. We're going to go do some spraying, but I'm just not 100% sure where we're going to do the spraying right now. So let's just pull up our map here, and we'll take a look at that and see where we can go do some spraying. So I'm thinking field number 5. Let me just verify that field number 5 is growing, and we planted that a few days ago. So we should be able to apply some liquid fertilizer to it. And hopefully, of course, I'm hopeful that we've actually got something growing on field number 5, or that we could actually see something growing on field number 5. You know, as I mentioned in the previous episode, episode 7, which was the first episode of sort of the rebooted map, if you will, is that I am playing with accelerated time. So yesterday I was playing around between 5 and 15, and I really think that maybe 15 might be ideal if we don't have a lot going on, if we don't have a lot to do. But I think that maybe, let me see if I'm going the right way. I am. I think that maybe 15 might be just a bit too fast if we have a lot of things that we need to accomplish in a game day. But then again, you know, five times the speed might be okay, and I think that works fine. I think I started it up about 7 o'clock was when I started when I brought you all in, and so here we are at almost 9 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I think that'll be all right. So we'll unfold our little arms here. Try not to get into that tree too much there. Now I will just say for the record, this is a early release copy of Lone Star version number 2, and I will just also say that R. McKinney has made a couple of more changes, which I am not going to worry about. I'm not going to worry about incorporating that into what we're doing here. One of the things, well, actually, I say a couple, that drives my wife crazy as well, because I tend to, almost everything is like a couple of this or a couple of that, but she always asks me, are you talking about a real world couple like 2, or are you talking about a Texas couple, which could be anything more than 2? But in reality, what I really mean to say is he's made one change, and the change that he's made is he's adjusted the height of the pine trees. And to be quite honest with you, it's not anything that I sort of noticed or recognized or had any sort of concerns about or anything, because again, sort of the scale of things on these maps in this game is not always spot on. But when he mentioned it in an email that he sent to me this morning, and again, I would have taken the update, and basically it would not have required a restart. But I've done some things to the map, like the gravel work, which I really don't want to have to take the time to redo that, and also a few other things that I've done through Giants Editor with the help of a friend of mine. But and I don't want to have to redo those things. But to me, it doesn't matter. But he does point out that he believes that the pine trees are a bit too tall for this part of Texas, and I would have to agree now that I sort of can see these and look at the proportions and everything. Now they would probably be pretty good down in southeast Texas, down around the Big Thicket National Forest down there. Down where my grandparents lived, as a matter of fact, down near Cleveland and Livingston and Conroe, and some of those, well, less urban areas. When you get out into more of the countryside, the pine trees are super tall there, and probably grow to even taller than what maybe these are depicting. But in this part of Texas, well, the pine trees just really aren't that tall. But it's okay. It's really okay. It's not gonna bother me to have it like this, not at all. And so I'm just very thankful to have the opportunity to play the map. And yeah, so I'm going to pause right here and get a screenshot. All right, and we're off again as the ducks go flying overhead. I really like the ducks. I really like the extra animations that many of our map developers are putting into the various maps. I will have to say the only, I played a little bit on Sandy Bay for just a little while, and I enjoyed the map. It was just that Lawfolds, I wanted to continue to play Lawfolds another season, And so it wasn't really, something that I wanted to necessarily stop Waffles for. And who knows, maybe I might play it again. I don't know. But anyway, I love the animation of the dog in town, as well as I loved the animation of the cat, I believe, that is on the main farm area. I will, though, admit that the snake down by the store does kind of bother me just a little bit, only because I am really deathly afraid of snakes. And I'll tell you a little story as to why I think that is the case. When I was a young lad, growing up, well, about 50, 60, 70 miles away from where this lovely area is depicted in Texas, I had a tree house. My dad built me a tree house. Well, I guess I sort of helped as well, but I was probably a little bit too young to be doing a lot of the work and everything. But my dad built a tree house, and it was actually quite cool. And as I sort of got older, sort of before I kind of outgrew the whole tree house thing, he had actually wired it for electricity, and I had a small television antenna that was mounted that I could take a little black and white TV that I had. Keep in mind I grew up in the 70s. Would have been around the time that I was in the treehouse messing about. And so, black and white TV was what I had in my room. We had a color TV in the family room, but that was that. But anyway, had a TV that I could take up there and watch TV. And of course, we got maybe one or two channels for the most part of my teenage and adolescent years. There was a TV station in Tyler, Texas, Channel 7, and I could get that on the rabbit ears. And if the weather was just right, sometimes we could get sort of a very staticky, not very clear signals out of Dallas-Fort Worth, but that was very rare. And of course, later or maybe in my earlier teen years, we did put up a pretty tall mast that we were able to get some Dallas-Fort Worth stations with. And then my junior year in high school, I believe it was when cable television came to my small town. And of course, then I rotted my brain with MTV. Of course, MTV is no longer is music television. I don't really know what MTV is, but that's a different conversation for a different video that I'm probably not going to bother making. But in any event, check out the dirt coming off the back of the tires. That's pretty cool animation, and I've never seen that before. But in any event, the treehouse was in my backyard, and I enjoyed it immensely. I mean, that's pretty much where I went every afternoon. It's where I spent most weekends, especially in the in the spring and summer. Oops, wrong button. In the spring and summer months and such, and maybe even occasionally even in the wintertime. I mean, wintertime in Texas is nothing like wintertime here in Colorado or in other places in the country. It's very well, it's a mild. I mean, it can be cold, and we certainly had snow as I was growing up. I do remember for one Christmas we got Santa Claus brought me a a sled for Christmas, and you might think, what an odd toy for parents or Santa to give to their children. But in actuality, that particular winter time, we had maybe 4 or 5 different snow events, and each one of these basically kept me out of school for a day or two, and that was kind of cool. And getting out of school anytime is cool, right? But and I'm talking 6 inches or more of snow each of these times, and we had a hill out in front of the high school, or out in front of the school. I should just say school, because Frankston is quite small, and there was only one school, and we all went to had classes there. We weren't all in the same classroom. I'm not quite that old, but anyway, so the sledge hill and everything was fun. So wintertime does occur. Anyway, treehouse. Um, some older boys that lived near me in the neighborhood thought that it would be fun, at least fun for them, to you know, they killed a snake somewhere. I don't even know what kind of snake it was. The snake was pretty good size based on my limited memory of I was probably like 7 or 8 years old at this particular point in time in my life, and they had killed the snake somewhere. It was probably just I don't know. I mean, it could have been a cottonmouth water moccasin. I don't know. I don't think it had its head, or at least that's what I remember my dad telling me. Anyway, they found a snake somewhere. Maybe they killed it. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But they coiled the snake up at the entrance of my treehouse. And so basically the way that my treehouse was set up, it was about 10 or 12 feet off the ground. It was in a tree, or at least a portion of a tree, and there was a couple of other supporting posts that my dad put into the ground. And it had a ladder that you climbed up. And so whenever you would climb up, and of course, so remember, I'm like 7 years old, so I'm, you know, not the 6 foot man that I am now. I'm much smaller. You climb up the ladder, and as you're about face level with the door, or with the floor of the treehouse, that's where I would unlatch my door, and then open the door up, and then I would climb into the treehouse. Well, as I was about eye level with the floor, I unlatched my door, and it wasn't locked. It wasn't like I had a padlock on it. Well, my dad did put me a padlock on it after this occurred, but basically I crawled up and was eye level with this coiled up snake in the floor of my treehouse. Well, let me tell you, I didn't take time to determine whether the snake was alive, whether it was dead, whether it was fake, whether it was real, whether it was about to bite me or anything like that. I came flying out of my treehouse. And again, remember, keep in mind, I'm about 7 years old. The treehouse is about 12 feet or so off the ground. I came off of it. I came from about maybe 8 feet or so. It was about probably where my legs were at the time. Came bailing out of that thing. I was scared to death. And of course, for quite a while, I wouldn't go in my treehouse anymore. It might have even been like several months might have went by before I was sort of brave enough to go back in my treehouse. And I had a cat that lived to be quite an old age. His name was Smokey, and he was not very old at this particular point in time in my life. And I think what I would do is, when I did get sort of brave enough to re-enter my treehouse, and of course my dad had put a lock on the door and I had the key, and you know, all this kind of stuff, and it was much more secure, and these evil boys would not have been able to have got back into the treehouse without, you know, busting the door down or something. But in any event, I would often take Smokey up with me, and I would unlock the door, and of course he would have probably been just as afraid if it would have been a snake that size, but I would shove him kind of in the door first, and then I would go up. So true story. So yeah, I had a treehouse growing up, and let me tell you, that was some fun. And even when I got older, in my younger teenage years, maybe like, you know, 12, 13, 14 age, I would even like camp out in my treehouse. I mean, that was kind of a cool thing to do. And a buddy of mine and I would go up there, and again would take my black and white TV, and for whatever reason, the rifleman sticks out. Chuck Connors, the rifleman, was probably on, and or, you know, Gunsmoke or Bonanza or something like that. And of course, I grew up watching shows like that as a child. My grandmother, my dad's mom, who passed away when I was, I think, a high school senior. And keep in mind, and I think I shared this with you all not too long ago, that my grandparents on my dad's side were much older, almost a generation earlier than my grandparents on my mom's side. So as an example, my grandfather on my dad's side fought in World War One. My grandfather on my mom's side fought in World War II. So that just kind of gives you the age difference. Well, my grandmother, and God bless her soul, for sure, I would go over and visit with her, and she lived in the same small town that I was living in at this particular point in time. And I would go over and well, I mowed her grass as I got a little bit older and was looking for, kind of like that part-time help that kids would do, younger kids would do. And so I was mowing yards and such. And so I would go over and in the afternoons, like after school or something, and she would always have cakes and cookies and stuff like that made for me. And of course, that was all the motivation I needed, right? I mean, cakes, cookies, milk, ice cream, pop, Cokes and stuff like that, was always in abundance at her house, and adored her dearly for that. Well, um, I would often lay on the floor, and she would be, lean back in her recliner, and we would watch Gunsmoke or something. She loved Gunsmoke, or Bonanza, or any of those shows, and more times than once or twice, she would always make a comment about the fact that she had never seen this episode of Gunsmoke before. Now, she had, and she probably had seen them multiple times, but because she would conk out and snooze during the episode, during much of the episode, as a matter of fact, of course, she had never seen it, or she hadn't recalled it anyway. So just good memories, growing up. Again, this part of Texas, this is where this is the part of the world that shaped me, that I grew up learning about life, enjoying life, learning about the hardships of life. I mean, my life wasn't. I didn't necessarily have to want for much, because my dad worked very hard early on so that my mom wouldn't have to work. Now, eventually she did take a job after I got into junior high, but during my elementary school years, kindergarten through 6th or 7th grade, she did not work because my dad did not want her to work, so that she could be at home when I got home from school and help me with my homework, and just, be a mom and everything. And But not everything was perfect in my life, but so much of it was, and of course I had really awesome friends, and just really an awesome time. And it was all this area. It was, places like this that shaped me, that molded me into the man that I became. And I'm very proud of my roots. I'm very proud of my heritage. I'm very proud. You won't find a more prouder American and prouder Texan than me, as far as that goes. And just really, like I said, I've just really had a good time growing up here, and I think that's one of the things that is making this map so special for me, is the fact that this is sort of about my younger years, my more impressionable years, as we often say. Let me back up just a little bit further here. I'm going to engage that. So yeah, those impressionable years, those are important, and if you can, as I approach the age of 51, and I know that I'm certainly not the oldest person that is playing this game and making YouTube videos and all that good stuff, but I just have so many fond memories. And as I've said before, I'm not a farmer. I don't do this in real life. The closest that I get these days to doing any amount of agriculture and stuff like that, well, this morning I did get out and I sprayed some pesticide and stuff around the house, one of those garden hose attached kind of canisters that you can get like at Home Depot or Lowe's or places like that. I did that, and of course I mow my yard and do things like that. So certainly that is the closest that I can get to agricultural based stuff. But growing up as a child, I did work on some farms and worked in hauling hay and stacking hay and such as that. So never had the opportunity to drive a combine or drive a self-propelled sprayer like this, but I've driven tractors and other things in my life, and I feel very fortunate that I've had those experiences. But if I do things wrong, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If I do things wrong in the game, it's because either that's how I've seen other people do it, or it's how I think it's possibly done. So I do have some boo-boos and maybe some mix-ups and things like that from time to time. That's pretty cool animation. Um, but I'm just human. I'm just a guy who uses this application, this program, this game, if you will, as a tremendous stress reliever for me. And it's something that's so completely different from my real world day. And I know that I spoke about this morning when I recorded Law Folds that you guys will see tomorrow. I talked about the fact that if somebody were to create an IT simulation game, I wouldn't want to play it. I would not want to play it, simply because, well, it would remind me too much of my day job. And I believe that we need gaps in reality for ourselves, stuff that takes us completely away from our norm, stuff that allows us to escape reality. And these games, these simulation-based games, whether it be like flight sim or truck sim or train sim or farm sim, whatever, these are perfect examples of games that really do allow us to escape the real-world problems for maybe just 30 minutes at a time, or maybe if we're fortunate, we get a couple of hours where we can truly escape it and get into our own little world and say, ain't nobody, you can knock and you can bang on the door and everything, but I ain't letting you in. This is my private world, and I'm not letting you come in to ruin it until, give me a half hour, give me an hour, or whatever. And so that's what I think of these types of games, and it's why I play them. And I've got to say that probably for me, I've never really been into first-person shooter type games that just don't necessarily interest me. Oh, true, I do own Grand Theft Auto 5, and I do play it from time to time. I suppose, but it's not necessarily a simulation game that I can relate to, because, for example, I really have no desires whatsoever to go steal a car and go hold up a convenience store at gunpoint and shoot people. I don't know. Maybe call me crazy, but that just does not enter my head, or actually call me sane, because these things don't enter my head. But from time to time, it's kind of cool to just play it, and it's kind of my silly moments. But this type of game, watching this sprayer go up and down the field and spraying it and operating it and doing the things that we can do in this game, or train sim or plane sim or farm sim or whatever, truck sim, truly is just a way that we can sort of escape things and block the outside world for a few minutes. And I used to, when I would come down, and this was maybe before I started doing the Let's Play videos, as I take a drink of water, I would often come down to my basement office and I would play plane sim or farm sim or truck sim or whatever, and I would have the news on at the same time. And I stopped doing that, because it's like, okay, this is my time to completely escape the world around me. And if I've got a television that's sitting off, to my right or to my left, or even behind me where I can hear the audio, and I'm hearing about the, let's face it, news, if it bleeds, it leads, right? That's what they say. That's why when you turn on your nightly news, they're always going to start with all the crime, the most vicious, heinous crimes that have occurred, that they can talk about. That's what they're going to lead with, because if it bleeds, it leads. But I would find myself that I would be listening to this, and I would be enjoying playing farm sim or train sim or truck sim or whatever, but I was not able to put myself into the game as well, because I had somebody somebody behind me, a talking head, telling me what they thought about the world around them and what had occurred since I had last, checked the news or whatever. And it's like, something, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. This is Jerry time. This is, my time to do this kind of stuff and escape the horrors of the world. And let's face it, I mean, the world that we live in. And don't worry, I'm not gonna get off on this tangent or off on this rant, because it really clearly is a minefield, and it is a genuine thing that I do care about. But I'm not going to bring that conversation into my channel. But we do need to step away from that kind of stuff. We do need to step away from it and put yourself in your happy place. And for me right now, my happy place is somewhere either on Lone Star or on Lawfolds or any other virtual map that we have available for Farm Sim 17. That is my happy place. That is truly what I enjoy doing, and I know that this episode has gone wildly long. Lawfolds that you guys will watch tomorrow will be almost an hour. My apologies, but I got off on a soapbox topic related to agricultural-based simulation games. So don't worry, I'm not talking about things that I don't think you'll care about, because I think you will care about some of these things. And but it's almost an hour long, so my apologies. A lot of people have said, Jerry, I wish you would make longer videos. Well, here are two back to back for you. One is almost an hour, and the other one is certainly knocking on the hour door. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start winding this video down, this episode down here on Lone Star. I've got just a little bit more to do, this pass, and then a smidge of a pass over to my right that I will take care of and do that off camera. But I just want to say thank you so much for watching. We have surpassed the 600 subscriber mark, and I could not be more happy for that. This is not about numbers. I will just say though, but I smile every time I get an email from YouTube that says that somebody new has subscribed. And I've told you this before, and I really do mean it. I enjoy your comments. I enjoy your questions. I enjoy you guys reaching out to me, and gals reaching out to me and asking me questions, or just telling me hi. So many of you guys did that. The few episodes ago I said, hey, just drop me a comment and say hello. Feel free to do that. I will say hello back to you, or I may say more. It just depends. But I really enjoy what we've got going here with my channel, and of course with my interaction with you guys over at the Three Dudes Gaming Network and PCSG. The Three Dudes Gaming Network, that was created obviously by Eustace Farmer and TBF Gaming, and I am lucky enough to be the third dude in that setup. But it really was set up and designed so that those guys could reach out and talk to and communicate with their subscribers, with their viewers. And if you want to reach out to me, if you want to communicate with me, or if you just want to, if you need help that I can't provide or whatever, please come register at Three Dudes Gaming Network, register at PCSG. Enjoy both of those. They are incredible communities. Community is a word that I don't necessarily use lightly, but in this situation, it truly is a community. It truly is a place that I think that most people, when they come and they experience it for the first time, will actually say, yeah, this is not just a forum. This is not just a place that one can come and ask questions or whatever. This truly is a community. It's a community of people helping people. We've got so many talented people at both sides, at PCSG as well as the Three Dudes Gaming Network, and I do encourage you to come and sign up for those. The links are down below. The links are also down below for all of my favorite YouTubers. A lot of these guys are associated with the Three Dudes Gaming Network, and I've mentioned them from time to time. But there's also a few other folks that are just YouTubers that I just really enjoy. I enjoy their channels. I enjoy their friendship, and they put out good quality stuff, and it's educational stuff. That's the other key, is that, there's really two ways of going with this whole YouTube thing. You can either go and you can sort of drive things from an educational, from a learning perspective, and I do a little bit of that, and then you can also drive it from the enjoyment perspective, the enjoyment of watching, something like this. And I put out a Facebook post on my Facebook page a couple of days ago, and I was sort of joking. Obviously, it was a joke, but I sort of said something like, looking for free childcare? Park your child or your grandchild down in front of the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and bada bing, there you go. And I really mean that, because I take great pride in the fact that this is a PG, this is a G-rated channel, not PG. There's a difference. I'm not going to even go there. Certainly not rated R, certainly not anything above that, but this is G-rated. What I talk about, the things I talk about, and I may talk about, getting scared in a treehouse when I was 7 years old, but I watch my language, because I don't use that kind of language outside of the game anyway, and so that's very easy for me. But I want to just be the type of channel that provides this type of programming, educational stuff like my courseplay tutorials, my mod reviews, etc. So thank you all. I just really appreciate it. And I know I was gonna end the episode and not make you watch me go all the way to the end of the field, but hey, we might as well, right? But thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your friendship, and I've met so many great people that I really do seriously consider each and every one of you friends. And as we get down to the last 500 liters of spray here, I'm hoping that we've got enough, but I bet we do. And just wanted to thank you all so much for watching. And so I will just go ahead and say thank you all so much for watching one more time, and go ahead and close the episode out instead of watching you watch me drive all the way back to the main farm, because my voice is about to give out. But thank you all so much, and I will see you right back here on Lone Star episode 9 or Lawfolds episode number 55. Thank you all so much for watching. God bless you all. Take care, and bye-bye.